Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Politics is taking shape ahead of 2027. We have seen political realignments taking shape. Now, it is expected that we are going to witness high octane politics in certain regions. And one such region is Mount Kenya itself. There is sibling rivalry among several leaders who are trying to offer themselves as alternative voices. And we also have supremacy battle. You've seen leaders trying to show their political muscles. At the center of this battle is the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Ever since Rigathi, the eldest cousin, was impeached, he has endeared himself to the local electorates in Mount Kenya and several Kenyans in all the corners of the country. But the reason why people are getting confused is because in as much as Rigathi has galvanized the support base in Mount Kenya and he is the de facto kingpin as we speak, he still has a case that is pending in court that does not allow him to contest until that case is pursued to conclusion. So some of his supporters are wondering what next for Rigathi. After the American tour, Rigathi received a very warm reception by a mammoth crowd, if you ask me, something that really went ahead to show that Rigathi is loved. I saw even Bungoma people were celebrating his arrival. And people are asking just one question. After endearing himself to the people, after that support to the tune of millions, what is next for Rigathi? Is he going to hand over this support to one of the coalition partners, to Kalonzo, to Matiani, to Martha Karua, to Natembeya? And will his supporters accept that fate that we love Rigathi, but in the interest of unity, and because we only have one rival who is William Samoei Ruto, or one competitor, then let us accept Rigachi's decision to support one of the coalition partners. So there's a lot of confusion. Now, today, or just a few hours ago, Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Secretary General to the Jubilee Party, made certain statements that really shocked many. Because in light of the case that is pending in court, Jeremiah Kioni, who is seen as the mouthpiece of Uhuru Kenyatta when it comes to matters party politics, declared that according to the constitution, Rigathi Gachagua is constitutionally unfit to hold office, and any attempt to galvanize any support behind him is all an exercise in futility, because he's saying that once you've been impeached, you cannot hold any office, and the people who are following you are just being misused because you will lead them to nowhere. That comment really left very many people shocked, because they feel like, number one, Jeremiah Kioni must see Rigathi Gachagua as his political sibling. They also come from one region. And number two, they both belong to the opposition. And so it is expected that they somehow speak with one voice. But why is Jeremiah Kioni condemning Rigathi Gachagua? I want us to listen to Jeremiah Kioni. But even as we do that, allow me to request you to like and share our videos. And if you are visiting us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell. This is Jeremiah Kioni talking about none other than Rigathi Gachagua.
If we had civic education, we would actually understand what being impeached under our 2010 constitution means. And we will not be seeing governors or even other people trying to run around and saying that they can run. Once impeached, the constitution, if Kenyans have been educated well, they will, once impeached, you are actually being told you cannot start galvanizing people behind you because you are only going to mislead them, taking them where? The constitution has declared you as unfit to ever hold a public office or even lead people into any given direction. So some of this civic education was not given to us, and including myself, there are many articles in the Constitution that I continue understanding every time. But there is more work to be done by the civil society, because you never expect the executive to do this, and it is also not something that is a one-off thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all know that in politics, people don't just wake up to talk. This is a calculated move to indirectly talk about Rigathi Gachagua. Do I say attack Rigathi Gachagua, who has really controlled Mount Kenya, and Rigathi is currently the kingpin of Mount Kenya. And if you doubt, please challenge me with the reasons. Why should Jeremiah Kioni declare that Rigathi Gachagua is unfit to hold office based on that pending case? And why does it feel like Jeremiah is talking on behalf of Uhuru Kenyatta? Because when it comes to matters party politics, Jeremiah Kioni is the one that speaks on behalf of Uhuru Kenyatta. Just like Edwin Sifuna is the Secretary General of the ODM, whenever he speaks, Raila had declared that he speaks for the party. When Cleopas Malala was the Secretary General of the UDA party, he used to speak on behalf of the UDA party. So Jeremiah Kioni speaks on behalf of the Jubilee, and who is the owner of Jubilee? Uhuru Kenyatta. And I believe there is a hidden or a silent rivalry between Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua. And this is not personal. It is simply based on politics. It is a political rivalry or political competition. Why wouldn't Jeremiah Kioni support Rigathi Gachagua? Because we know that he was targeting Rigathi. I want to believe that, number one, there is still scramble for Mount Kenya kingship. There are people who believe that Rigathi has not done enough to deserve that kingpin within Mount Kenya. But if you ask many of us, I believe Rigathi has worked tirelessly to earn that crown as the new kingpin of Mount Kenya. I think after Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta inherited by virtue of the fact that he was contesting, and Mount Kenya supported him to the man. But Uhuru slept on the job, and when he woke up, William Ruto had taken over, and William Ruto became the new kingpin of Mount Kenya. Jubilee is still very bitter because Jeremiah Kioni has always maintained that their votes were rigged. And I believe Jeremiah Kioni is one person who believes that in 2027, he's going to make a comeback to politics. So they believe that Uhuru Kenyatta can still rise to this power because, truth be told, there are people who still seek for Uhuru's view of the politics that is going on in Mount Kenya. So there are people who believe Uhuru Kenyatta is the kingpin. Others believe that Rigathi Gachagua is the new kingpin. Based on numbers and support, I believe Rigathi Gachagua is the man. But there's people who don't read from the political ideologies of Rigathi Gachagua, and so they need to. They're looking for alternative voices. Many believe that Uhuru Kenyatta is that alternative voice. Why? Because Uhuru wanted them in 2022 not to elect William Ruto. Only 2.5 years after ascending to power, they started crying. No wonder you hear this cry, one term. So some people say, Uhuru warned us and we never listened. So it is time to listen to him because he's been the president of this country. He's been deputy prime minister in this country, understands politics. So they still look at Uhuru Kenyatta as an alternative voice. That's why Jeremiah Kioni wants to paint a picture that Rigathi is a deposed king. He will not be allowed to contest. And so he's sending a message to the supporters of, Rigathi Gachagua that even if you rally behind Rigathi Gachagua, he's going nowhere. He cannot contest. In other words, he's telling them, you are gathering behind Rigathi in large numbers only for him to sell you to another person, or not just selling, telling you support Matiang'i or support Kalonzo or Natembeya or Eugene or Martha Karua. And I think he's telling them that with us, tumejipanga. Come and follow us and we'll show you our leadership. So the whole thing is about who is the real kingpin, who will show Mount Kenya the way ahead of 2027. And in other words, it's reminding them, let us not fall to the trap that we fell in 2022. So the whole thing is Mount Kenya kingship. Number two, this is a battle between the new DCP party and Jubilee. Jubilee, I think, before 2022 was the largest and strongest party in the region. But after William Ruto infiltrated and they painted that region yellow, UDA took over. Now, as they try to push the UDA away, power does not work in a vacuum. There must be somebody. There must be a party. So Jubilee still believes they can occupy that space. But truth be told, Rigathi Gachagua is the man who has worked tirelessly to kick out the UDA party. And we are about to witness that in the next by-elections. That Rigathi Gachagua is indeed the real kingpin, because I think it's going to thwart Jubilee and the UDA and some of those parties within the region. You all know that the Jubilee party would want to win many seats, because when you have many seats, that's when you have a say, you have a voice. Even the political party's fund can only be remitted to your party if you have a certain number of members of parliament and maybe senators and governors. So Jubilee wants to come back to being the king they were before 2022. And they hope to convince Mount Kenya voters that your party is Jubilee. Then the person we are going to give you is a person who is constitutionally valid to take you somewhere. Because for Gachagua, he's a deposed king. But they all understand that if Rigathi Gachagua tightens the belt, then he's going to sweep the whole of Mount Kenya. That will be a disadvantage to people like Jeremiah Kioni, because they might not get an opportunity to make it back to parliament. So the only thing they are doing is to remind people that Rigathi is impeached, don't follow him because he will take you nowhere. So I think this is the supremacy battle that I was talking about between Uhuru Kenyatta and DCP and Rigathi Gachagua. As to whether this will succeed, I don't know, because Mount Kenya has decided we are going to follow who? Rigathi Gachagua. He was our deputy president whom we gave William Ruto, but William Ruto chased him. And so we have a sweet revenge. We want to follow Rigiji so that we can also annihilate or serve William Ruto with a very hot revenge. If you ask me, it's not going to be very easy, because people tend to agree with Rigathi Gachagua. He speaks the truth. He speaks on behalf of Kenyans. Anasema pombe tulimaliza, wanarudisha pombe. And so this kind of rivalry between DCP and Jubilee is going to be witnessed ahead of 2027. That's why Jeremiah Kioni is talking that way. Number three, it is about Matiang'i. Jubilee has proposed Matiang'i to be their presidential candidate. But Rigathi Gachagua has a different opinion, that Fred Matiang'i must go back to his Keroka, Nyamira and Kisii and Ogembo and tell them that I need your support, and he should be sponsored by a party from that region. He's saying that because he wants Fred Matiang'i to come with his people to allow him to organize Mount Kenya. Matiang'i feels, or rather Gachagua feels, that Matiang'i is bringing this rivalry where it is unnecessary. Because according to Rigathi Gachagua, he wants Natembeya to come with his people, if you have 3 million or 4. Then himself come with Mount Kenya. Then Fred Matiang'i to come with Kisii. Because that is the kind of politics that we play. Before you criticize Gachagua, you should know that that is the kind of politics. You must be endorsed by your brothers and sisters. It is tribal politics. Before William Ruto is endorsed by any other tribe, you will see him going back to his Kalenjin nation. That's why you've seen very many Kalenjins say that, Ruto is suffering because he's a Kalenjin. When in Mount Kenya, critics oppose Uhuru Kenyatta or Mwai Kibaki. They feel that William Ruto is only but suffering because he is a Kalenjin. So William Ruto already is running to people like Murkomen and Sudi, and that is what they are now pronouncing, that our son is suffering because they run to their tribal cocoons. So that is exactly what Rigathi Gachagua wants. Mniachie Mount Kenya, nendeni mtengeneze region zenyu, ndio mkuje tukutane, tukae kwa debe tuseme wewe uko na watu wangapi, wewe uko na watu wangapi. Critics of this kind of politics is saying this is the same as shareholders, but it is the truth. That is exactly what we have been doing. So Jeremiah Kioni or the Jubilee Party or Uhuru Kenyatta would want the people to understand that Rigathi is finished, he's not going to contest, and therefore he should allow Jubilee to give them a presidential candidate. So this is competition, whether it is healthy or unhealthy, it is happening and it is real. As to whether Matiang'i is going to fall for this trap, I don't know. Is Matiang'i going to contest using a Jubilee party, or is he going to back? Because there's another party in Kisii and it's been associated with Fred Matiang'i. This is why Rigathi Gachagua feels that Fred is unfair. If he has a party, then him come with the party to allow Rigathi Gachagua a pange Mount Kenya. Rigathi wants all the MCAs and the MPs and women reps and senators and governors. But you see, when Fred Matiang'i is in the mix, Fred will campaign for his presidential bid, but he cannot abandon all the other members of parliament, MCAs, governors. He will campaign for the Jubilee Party holistically. But this is what Rigathi does not want. Rigathi says, kila mtu akuja na region yake tuangalie wewe uko na ngapi. And many people feel that if that coalition is not careful, they are going to break. Because once Rigiji declares his candidature, Kalonzo declares his candidature, maybe Natembea, they will not agree together. Others must decide to contest alone, and that will be a sure bet to William Ruto. Others might join the UDA party. What do you think? And as I said, the rivalry between Jubilee and DCP, or Uhuru Kenyatta as the leader of Jubilee and Gachagua as the leader in DCP, is not personal. It is just based on politics. It's political. Matters, interest, and betrayal. I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, but ahead of 2027, Mount Kenya is going to witness a high-octane politics. What is your take on this?